Hey there, guys. My name is Jakob, and my presentation is about um, the possible colonization of Mars. Um, my statement is the colonization of Mars is something humanity should pursue, but colonization requires proper precaution and thoughtful organization. Um, so, the reason why I think these things is my argument. Um, so, international and cross-cultural collaboration. Um, so basically, to, in order to colonize Mars and to develop the capacity to sustain human life independently on Mars, the costs from a technological perspective, from a resources perspective, is it's simply too much for any one country or company essentially. So there's going to be a necessity for international and cross-cultural collaboration, or you know, multi-corporational corporate collaboration. The biggest insurance. So that's the first A. B. Continuation of conscious and or humanoid life. So as far as we know, we are the only conscious life in the universe, and we don't know that to be for sure, but that we know of, that we have come into contact with, we are the only things with conscious life. So um, the biggest insurance to the continuation of this conscious and or humanoid life um, is to spread, and we will of course bring other species with us, is to spread to Mars. And then C, because or to continue on B, so that, say for example, there's a meteor that strikes, right? We would possibly all be wiped out, as did the dinosaurs, if we do not have the capacity to, um, come back from that. So, basically, having a Martian colony assures that life does not end. Um, C, uh, economic opportunity. So, if you look at it from a fiscal fiduciary perspective, um, Mars has tons of resources. It has a huge amount of water. It has a huge amount of all kinds of other resources that, say an outpost is successfully established, right? We can then trade resources between Mars and the Earth as necessary, and as supply and demand dictates, right? So D, scientific opportunity. If we actually have a colony in Mars, we're going to be able to learn a lot more about physics, for example. How does gravity work, or how does living on a different planet affect people? There's biology involved there, the geology of different planets. We have a whole, every single field that we have here on Earth would be different in some ways on Mars. Even medical medicine will change as like people change, and as people receive different kinds of injuries that you cannot receive, or are hard to simulate here on Earth. Um, Agriculture will change. We're essentially creating a new environment. So what kind of plants do we have to bring there? It's a whole different, what kind of genetic modifications will happen through evolution on a new environment, in a new environment, and what will just have to be predestined, like genetically modified by synthetically. Um, it, it brings up all kinds of questions and opportunities to learn. Um, so the counter argument to Mars colonization, is essentially, a interplanetary colonization race possibility. So if we have this collaboration between multiple elements to reach Mars and colonize Mars, right? Say, for example, the U.S. pays for 50% of the pieces of the ship that go there, right? So, whose laws apply there? Is it the U.S. or like the other 10 countries that also uh, contributed? Is it the biggest company share? Like, how are we going to dictate laws? If then there's B, Cold War security dilemma situation, right? Say for example, we learn how to colonize Mars effectively, right? We now have the skills to um, effectively colonize other planets, right? This could lead to essentially a domino effect, right? Where we have all of these different planets in the like all over the galaxy, very Star Wars esque, where intelligent life is found, all over the universe, right? And there is a probability that there is some kind of weapon design that can greatly harm other planets. So there's no guarantee that by expanding, humanity is actually kept any safer, right? Um, and C, radically different environment, i.e., frontier. So the whole frontier concept of uh, if you live in a different environment, you're going to adapt to that environment, right? So obviously, no one has ever lived on Mars before. We don't know what happens to people that live on Mars. We've never put anyone in a spaceship for years to go to Mars and then have them, try to build a colony there. So this is all very on the fringe, essentially. Um, so, to counter the interplanetary colonization race possibility, right? Um, my biggest counter would be an interplanetary a governmental body, right? So, using a democratic system of representation, authority, and learning from historical mistakes made by humanity as a model. Uh, cosmopolitan political issues can be addressed through an interplanetary governmental body. So, say we do need to develop essentially some sort of governmental system for this Mars colony because we have governmental systems here in the on the planet on Earth essentially. So unless we plan on having at least on a very early colony level, we will definitely need high organization to ensure that everyone can survive. It's going to be very technical at first. It's going to be making sure that people have air, people have food. So sending people that have the right skills to ensure that life is sustained is an important question. Is a very is very well is impairment there. Um, so let's see. Scale of effort. So the scale of effort is the biggest reason why we believe that um, the Cold War security dilemma situation will not prove a huge issue. So because of the scale of effort required to reach Mars and to colonize and to develop all these technologies, it's just too monumental of a task for any one group of people to do alone, really, or any one body on the Earth to do alone. So it will have to be a global effort, essentially. Um, so the conventions and moratoriums regarding the ethics of colonization need to be they need to be established. There has to be some consensus on um, what is being done, right? And is this right? Um, for example, if we're going to send people to Mars and they have to sit in a spaceship for years, who's to say that they won't go crazy, right? What are we going to put in place that ensures that these people are sane and so that they don't compromise the mission that way? You can't go crazy if you're trying to make sure that everyone has food. Um, So 2, ensuring the representation of diversity within the space race, right? So you have to have diverse mindsets. You need to just you can't have one group unequally represented in a Mars colony because they're not going to obviously want to help out with the whole effort if they're not represented. So 3, embracing the free trade model of economics. Um, uh, so in order to embrace the free trade model of economics, the free trade model of economics is to um, to buy and sell as necessary, right? So supply and demand dictates the free trade model of economics, and it is it helps guarantee that war does not happen because war is generally bad for supply and demand trade between different bodies. So, for example, if U.S. and China are at war, the U.S. and China won't be trading. So that's not very useful um, for the economies of the two different countries. Um, it does help. Yeah. So C, guarantee of mass extinction eventuality. So um, this is something that is a reference to the radically different environments frontier. So the argument against the argument against going to Mars would essentially be, well, we won't be us anymore. We are not human anymore if we move there because we're then Martian. Humans are from Earth, right? So guarantee just like the dinosaurs, eventually something will happen that kills us as a species on Earth. It's guaranteed at some point. It's not. We don't know when it will happen, but if you keep rolling the dice, eventually, you will land on this possibility. So, in order to by spreading to another country or another planet, we have guaranteed that. Human our ancestors will live on essentially. So that's all. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments even. Thank you guys so much for watching.